Let's talk about the most historic season in Nebraska basketball history. Joining us, the dean of basketball coverage in the area, Robin Washut from HuskerOnline. Be honest, okay? When you watch the video, hold your head up high video, little tears? A little misty?
It was a bad day to be Rain.
Yes.
To say that. But that kind of just encapsulates just the emotion of this entire season, that night, the way that it ended.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of one of those where everybody was just trying to wrap their head around all that had happened up to that point.
Yeah.
And as disappointing as it was, as much of a kick in the you-know-what that it was to lose to Iowa,
Yeah.
I think the greater sum of what this season was far outweighs the pain of that night. And I thought Fred's emotions there coming out was a perfect cap to what had been a really special season.
Mm-hmm. Robin, you look at coming to the season, picked 14th in the league. We got some new additions. You know, just made the tournament a couple years ago, won the crown last year. When did you realize this season was going to be different and this wasn't going to be the 14th best team in the Big Ten?
Yeah, it goes back to that week in December where they boat raced Creighton and beat Wisconsin by 30. And then the real exclamation point was that game in Illinois.
Yeah.
When they went to Illinois. That was like the last, like moving the goalposts. Like, all right, you beat Creighton, they're down this year. Go see what happens in Big Ten play. All right, you won at home. Let's see you go on the road and beat a top 15 team. Well, then they go and do it. And that was obviously an Illinois team that's in the Final Four right now. And so that week, and specifically that game in Illinois, was, at least for me, the moment where you open your eyes a little bit and say, whoa, this team might have something here. And so were able to continue just to keep that rolling and rolling and rolling. And, you know, they had their ups and downs late in the season, but like that was the point where like they weren't just some flash in the pan team. When you go to Illinois and beat a team of that caliber and, you know, punctuate a week that week was in that manner, that's the difference between a fluke and being real. And they were able to carry that into their best season ever.
Robin, Fred's ability to evaluate in the portal and do more with less, how big a part of that was the success this year when you just think about some of these rosters have double, triple the amount of money Nebraska has, and he's able to do what he did with under $5 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart spending. And they had the benefit of having a pretty good deal on Sam Hoiberg. They had a pretty good deal on Cale Jacobson.
Yeah.
So two primary pieces of your rotation they got for about as much of a bargain as you can get. But retaining Rienk Mast, adding Pryce Sanfort, like those were the two pieces that had to work because they built their entire roster around Rienk Mast, and he needed to be the guy that made the engine go, and he was that player for the majority of the season. But then Pryce, he was their number one portal priority, and they had to hit with him just because of the money they spent on him, and you know the other pieces that they needed to fit around that. Like he was the X factor, and obviously first team All Big Ten.
Yeah.
He was everything that they hoped. So they just had a lot of things go their way. But what's crazy to think is they did this without two players that were supposed to be fixtures in their rotation, in Connor Esijan and Ugnias Yarosevicius, who like
Nice.
Show off.
Thank you. But no, that was like that makes that run even more special because that's Rienk's top backup and you're one of your top three-point shooters that don't even play for the majority of the year, and yet they still had the season they were. So everything went right despite some setbacks that could have really derailed things with those injuries. That kind of made the coaching job and then the roster management aspect about as phenomenal as it gets.
You named a great stretch right there. There are two other games I remember. So Oklahoma, they trailed by 16 to them, right? Indiana trailed by 16 to them and showed just wherewithal that we hadn't seen from Nebraska basketball. Those two games, they'll always stand out for me how they fought back in those games.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that showed the resilience that I think got them to where they ended up getting to. I mean, they faced big deficits earlier in the season, and I thought finding ways to rally together and find answers when the script didn't go to plan. Like you go back to some of these previous years when things didn't go perfectly, Nebraska didn't have a plan B.
Right.
And they would just have to like try to luck their way into a win. Well, this one they had answers, multiple answers. They'd had other guys. Braden Frager would come off the bench and drop 20. Rienk Mast could go off for 30. Pryce Sanfort could go off for 30. Sam Hoiberg could get you 15 to 18. Like they had one answer after another, and I thought those were the types of games. I put Ohio State on the road in that conversation as well, where you just saw the grit and resilience and ability to fight through adversity that a Nebraska basketball team hasn't shown in a long time.
Jared Garcia had a good putback against Illinois.
Yes, he did.
Don't forget about that.
Keeping roster retention, obviously, Pryce has a decision to make. Ideally, if he doesn't go to the NBA, keeping him around, keeping Brendan Frager around.
Yeah.
What other key pieces does Nebraska have to now go out and get through the transfer portal, point guard, maybe another big man. What would you kind of rank kind of your 1A as the next position that they have to have for 2026, 27?
They got to get another Rienk. And I know that there's some questions about Oogie being back or not. I don't know if the decision's up to him. You know, he's dealt with that lingering back injury that it's not a situation that surgery can fix. So I don't know if it's up to him. I don't know if it's up to Nebraska. If all goes to plan, they'd love to have him back because they handpicked him to be Rienk's successor. Regardless of what happens with him, they need another day one starting center. The guy that can do the things Rienk could do offensively. Maybe not necessarily the shooting, but facilitating the offense. I mean, even if it's a guy like Derek Walker, who shot like 1 3-pointer his entire career, like he was about as efficient as it gets. He was physical and he was an extremely good passer. So like I think that's the qualities you're looking for with their top priority in the portal. It's having that 5-man that you can run the offense through, because that's what they built this past roster around with Rienk and his skill set. They've got to find somebody that can replicate that. And then after that, so if that's 1A, 1B, you got to get a point guard. You lost your 2 primary ball handlers, Sam Hoiberg and Jamarcus Lawrence. And both those guys did so many unique things to help this team win, with Sam's defense and all the hustle plays that he made, Jamarcus and the pace that he brought, and adding the shooting element. Like, you got to, I don't know if one guy is going to fix that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took 2 ball handlers, probably 2 bigs, because you got to replace Jared Garcia in that front court rotation as well. You don't know what's going to happen with Oogie. And then, you know, maybe best player available depending on what else attrition-wise happens going forward in the portal season.
And Curtis, right?
Yeah, Curtis is a guy that can build around.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, he had some big minutes.
Michigan, huge minutes.
Hey, he had those 2 points at the end of the half against Vanderbilt.
Yep.
What was the difference in
Bring
that
him
one?
back.
Robin, scheduling-wise, we know Creighton's always going to be on there. Sioux Falls, some opponent. They're going to go to they're going to play Providence and Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun. But can Nebraska, with this success, parlay it to like a traditional series or maybe even a potential neutral site game that wouldn't have been on the schedule otherwise?
I think that is kind of the ideal ticket, is the just single play neutral site game against a high major opponent. And I will tell you, Nebraska has called pretty much every coach and GM and ops guy in the country to see if they want to play him. And not many people want to play Nebraska right now. So it's been hard to get those games scheduled, but I think that with some of these coaching changes, that maybe get some fresh calls that get to be made. I think that's the ideal thing. You saw the Mohegan Sun game with Providence. That's the kind of game I think you're looking for. Because home and homes, you know, a lot of teams want Nebraska to come there. And Sioux Falls, the book is out. Like, that's not a neutral site game in any sense of the word.
It's harder to play there than people.
You're probably looking at like a top-end mid-major for an opponent there, just a team that needs that game for their resume, whereas a high major doesn't need to go play a true road game and only get a neutral site credit for it. So it's a tricky puzzle for Nebraska to try to put together here, but I do think that their success this season makes them a more attractive brand to play some of those maybe higher profile neutral site games that is kind of a win-win for everybody involved.
I'll never forget 2005 in Rosenblatt, Nebraska baseball, the first trip back to Colorado in 2019, takeover. No takeover ever, though, like Oklahoma City.
Oh, man, that was the most unbelievable sports environment I've ever experienced. And the Troy game obviously was historic on so many levels, but then that Vanderbilt game, the way that it ended, just the emotions, the roller coaster that game was, those 2 games back to back. I don't know if Nebraska, certainly men's basketball, maybe Nebraska athletics, will ever experience anything like that, just because of the pent up history and emotions that were just released upon Bricktown. Drink about a Busch Lights, and like it was just a scene from start to finish that I don't know if it can ever be replicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you just take a dump or a dive into the canal?
Either one of those.
I didn't do either one of those, Jack.
Somebody might have, though.
In the
Dive and
canal.
jump got
But I know there were several people that did
had
dive
about that,
into the canal.
Yeah.
I don't know about the
swim
other
team.
stuff.
You take part of the swim. But gosh, too many hits to the head sometimes, I swear.
Last thing,
Go ahead.
in terms of we talk about who's all coming back and everything. Is there somebody that you're thinking about that you've seen? I know I've seen some highlights today of a big man they would like to get, but is there somebody standing out there for you?
Well, I mean, there's connections. You're talking about Bang got back.
Yeah.
The big 7-footer, former Lincoln Southeast product.
Yep.
Good friends with Braden Frager, just went in the portal. He's about as athletic and rim running and shot blocking as it gets. The thing is, for Nebraska, just because they've had success now, and in theory, they're going to have more money than they've ever had to go assemble a roster. They're not going to be reckless. And a guy like Bangot is going to have a hefty price tag to him because everybody wants a 7-footer that can jump out of the gym and block every shot. Like, he's going to have plenty of suitors that have a lot of money to spend. So Nebraska, if the price is right, and more importantly, if the fit is right, that is the number one underlying priority with every portal addition that they have. It's got to be the fit on the court for what they're trying to build from their system, but just as importantly, off the court, because they take so much pride in the culture that started back in 22-23 and got them as much to this point as anything else.
Got to be connected. That's the key to it.
Doubt.